Okay, Industrial Nation. Today, I am with Iliana Stareva. What the name is Stareva?
Yeah.
Industrial Nation. Today, I'm with Iliana Stareva. Iliana, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course, sure. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Iliana. I currently work in the partner program team at HubSpot, where we design better engagement with all of our terrific partners like you guys. And I come from a PR background. I spent a good few years working in PR and digital communication across Germany and the UK. And I'm right now based in Ireland. I've been at HubSpot for the last 4.5 years. And I published my first book, Inbound PR, just last year.
Great book. We are going to talk about it. Iliana, something you've done at HubSpot is working a lot with agencies like mine. You have helped a lot of agencies around Europe to grow their business. What have you learned from working with such a big number of agencies those last years?
Sure, a lot of things. So I spent my first 2.5 years probably at HubSpot working very closely with, I would say, about 200, 250 of our partners across all of Europe. A lot from Germany, people from the UK, from the Nordics, so a lot of agencies. And there are a ton of stuff that I've learned. I would definitely say that we in Europe are very much ahead of the game, and we do like to adopt new things such as inbound marketing, for example. So it's been terrific to see how a lot of agencies have jumped on that bandwagon and have completely redesigned their business with new services around inbound and around our HubSpot software to help clients grow better. Okay. And I think the key thing that I probably learned for agencies, and I would say that that applies to any business, is that the ones who succeeded and continue to succeed today were the ones who almost chose an area to specialize, right? Like something to focus on, do that really well, build an expertise around it, build thought leadership around it, like something that others, clients would know them about and then talk remarkably about them. So I think that applies to any businesses, and I saw that firsthand. So that's probably my biggest learning, I would say.
I'm happy to hear that because we try to specialize a lot at Nile, and this is something I agree with. You can't be the right solution for everybody. You have to choose. And I think when you have a focus, you can sell your product or your service with a better price, with better margin. And I agree 100% with you.
Absolutely. You can be excellent at everything.
Yes. I'm happy to hear from you that in Europe we are we are in advance. We are. I thought USA were always the first to adopt a new thing.
Well, if you think about the way I'm explaining this, it really goes into the whole world, right? Like the US are often ahead of things and ahead of things that were developed over there. Like if you think about HubSpot, we're an American company, inbound marketing and inbound in general comes from the US. So yeah, they're the first one to jump on the bandwagon. But I would definitely say that at this time, I think UK and the Nordics and like other countries as well are jumping really quickly on new things. I think where the adoption is slower and not as far ahead is obviously if you look at countries in Asia or in Africa or in Latin America. Different adoption there, different stage. You know, we're talking about emerging markets versus developed markets over there.
So there is a big market for inbound agencies in Europe.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely think so. Yes.
We can see that, for example, in France, when we start, we were maybe 3 or 4 HubSpot partners 4 years ago, and today there are more than 100 partners in only 3 years. So it's show how the market and the business is evolving here in France.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen that everywhere. And to be honest with you, I think it's because customers demand it, right? Like customers and clients, they want better results for their business. They want new models that work well with everything that's happening in technology and in digital nowadays. And it's just normal that agencies are trying to evolve based on customer needs.
Yeah. Iliana, something I wanted to ask you. You worked a lot with agencies around the partner program. I know that you are not you are not the only person involved in the partner program, but I think you are a little bit modest because I hear a lot of good things about how you help agencies to solve their problems.
Thank you.
And I see similitudes between how HubSpot develop his partner program with agencies and how manufacturing companies should develop a program with their partners. We can see in manufacturing that a lot of companies have maybe 50% of their business done with partners.
Mm-hmm.
My
That's a lot.
have a lot of business done with partners, but I feel that they are still working with them like an old-school way of working with partners. What advice would you give to companies that want to build a strong partner program with their distributors, like the one you have built with agencies at HubSpot?
Sure. I would say that the number one advice really is to be partner first. What happens in a lot of companies that are trying to build programs with various types of partners, right? Like obviously manufacturing is very different than what we do, is they think about themselves, right? Like they think about, okay, we as a manufacturer, this is what our goals are. This is what we want to get out of it. Whereas the focus really needs to lie on what's in it there for the partner, right? It's the same if you're serving customers. What's in it for the customer, or what's in it for your prospect? What's in it for your buyer? So you're trying to speak that language, and you're trying to design a program that is obviously going to be a win for you, but at the same time is going to find the sweet spot. So the really is the win for the partners. One thing we've done, and I've particularly worked on, it helps a lot, has been to define the partner lifecycle. And when I say partner lifecycle, it's really around what's the process for us to start working with a partner? What's the process for when partners join the program and they get onboarded and start working with us, versus what's the process for these partners to scale and achieve even more success by being our partners? So again, it really goes back to being partner first, but then also ensuring that your goals as a company align with the goals of that partner. So there's benefit for both. So instead of just thinking about me, or my company, you need to think about the success of your partners very heavily. That's the only way for you to involve them and run a successful partner program. And obviously there's a ton of things and ton of little details around, like, how does it work, and all these processes and systems, and how do we engage with these partners, and who do we hire to do that, and like technology, etc. Lots of questions to be asked. But all in all, you want to know, how does your strategy for growth align with the strategy of growth for those partners?
This is a great advice. I see the onboarding part also is something very important, and I don't see a lot of manufacturers doing it well. I think there is a lot to say about how you can manage distributors and partners in this kind of business. Maybe you could write another book about this.
Maybe that's going to be my next book. But it is the same. Like right now, I've done a lot of research when it comes to digital and digital transformation lately. And like everywhere online, you hear about customer journey and customer journey and customer journey and journey mapping. And we have this whole concept of buyer's journey at HubSpot too. And I think the same way applies. This applies to any persona, right? So in this case, the partner would be a persona. So what is their journey? That's what you're trying to define. And step by step through that journey, you want to enable it, right? Like whether that's going to be with resources or with technology, whatever really that looks like. You want to make sure you define it, and you want to make sure you have the answers in resources and technology to, go through all the steps of that journey.
Yeah, it's a great advice. We have a lot of companies, for example, who are thinking about go for e-commerce website, and they are doing it without discuss the subject with the partners. And I saw companies we even launch a new brand to go hidden. They don't want the partner know that they are launching an e-commerce platform, and
Oh, okay.
this is a great mistake. And it has to do with what you have told us. You need to define the partner journey. You need to see how you can win with your partner. It's not only about you, me, my company. You have to align your goals with your partners.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for this advice. We should do a podcast around it next time.
Yeah, we can do a deep dive. Yes.
So the subject, the first subject why I wanted to have you on the show, it's about press relation, public relation. What PR is about?
So I'll give you the short answer on PR. And PR, I think you mentioned just before we jumped on this call around how PR is dead. Well, PR is not really dead. PR traditionally has been about building relationships with important publics, and then by that, improving the reputation of an organization. So PR has really been about this whole almost concept of word of mouth, getting other people to talk positively about you and like increasing your share of voice, so to say, and generally, you know, your reputation and how people think about you and see your products and company. So traditionally, PR has been a lot about PR people working with the media, with journalists, and basically ensuring that there is coverage on certain topics, certain news, certain products or services or whatever for companies in various media outlets, them being newspapers or TV or radio or whatever. And that's been very much the traditional view of PR, which unfortunately has kept us being the same for years and years. So the PR industry has been slow at evolving. And we know nowadays that there are different types of media, there are different types of influencers. And also what Inbound preaches is all about your own media, right? Like your own website, your own blog, your own social channels. So for you to build a reputation, for other people and prospects and customers to find you, you don't need to go through the media anymore. You can go directly to those customers. And so what PR is not yet leveraging, is just learning to do a lot better nowadays, is to go through, to use different types of media, right? Like not just journalists, etc., but then also working with bloggers and influencers, and then using the own channels of a client or of the own organization as well. And so PR still remains focused heavily on content. I'd say that PR people are the best content creators that are there. They're the best storytellers. And I think without storytelling, no company can actually be successful when it comes to content and old media and everything, just because nowadays it's content the way that you get, it's through content the way that you get found.
So if I understand, today you first need to be your own media. You need to build a strong brand. So branding is not dead too. Branding Correct. is still something important, but you don't build a brand today like we built it maybe a few years ago. Another thing I just hear from you, it's not only a relation with a journalist, with a big media. You have to integrate all those people who may talk about you.
Correct.
How does it take place in your marketing strategy as a company? How do you incorporate this? Because you need to talk with your customers, but you need to talk also with those kind of people. How can we build this on a marketing strategy?
Yeah, so I think that really depends on the larger goal of the company and the type of people you have working in the company, right? The larger companies, typically they would have marketing departments and PR departments. And so I think there's definitely a need for better alignment when it comes to who does what. And in terms of really, you know, we are all on the same team, we're all working towards the same goals and stuff. But I do believe that when it comes to content creation, and specifically content creation for working with influencers or journalists, PR people are better suited to do that than the marketing department. And also because PR people are naturally driven to build relationships. And our world still evolves around relationships, right? Like, I mean, if someone's your friend, of course they'll do you a favor, or of course they'll at least listen to you. Whereas if it's someone new reaching out to them, they'll probably ignore you, right? They're not going to pay attention to you because they don't know you. You don't have any relationship, as I said, with them. So it kind of depends, but I think it all goes back to the point, what are our goals as a company? What do we want to achieve? And based on that, what type of media types should we be using? So when we talk about media types, there's the PESO model. So paid, earned, shared, and owned. So as a company, if you want to play in the earned piece, but that really goes to the whole story around media relations and journalists and influencers. So, and that's where a PR person would be best suited to help you. Okay, so finally, we are talking about inbound. This is the same. How can I say it in English? The same levier. I don't know how to say this word in English, but this is the same way we built inbound strategy. We need to apply the inbound methodology to public relations, to press relations. Okay, so how do you start? Sure. So that's exactly what my book is about. As I said, I worked in PR before I joined HubSpot, and then I started at HubSpot and really mastered the whole inbound methodology. And I saw a link between the two. And that link is really around content and measurement. So PR is great. As I said, it's storytelling and content creation, but PR is not that great when it comes to measuring results and tying those results back to actual ROI or actual sales. And I'm a firm believer that PR can contribute to sales, even if it's just a matter of, PR achieves certain coverage in media outlets, and that type of coverage, those stories are used by your sales department when they talk to prospects. So inbound PR to me is just a different mindset to how PR people do the work. But in fairness, anybody could do inbound PR if they know the steps, to your point. And the steps are, number one, define your goals and what type of that should PR achieve. Once you know that, then you can go more strategically and tactically to think through, what are we going to do now? So I talk a lot about the whole concept of stakeholder persona in my book. We know the term buyer persona, or your ideal customers and prospects from email marketing, but the same applies to PR. So PR is very unique because PR can tackle the buyer personas, but then also the media personas, in which fall the journalists and the influencers, also employees, right? Like a lot of PR people deal with internal relations and internal communication, likewise shareholders. So the second step there is really you need to define your personas. So where are we going to play? Who do we need to engage with? And you do the same research as you would do with a buyer persona. You go and talk to them, you do surveys, you do focus groups, you interview them, right? You really get to know them. You want to know where they're active and how do they engage. Then you continue doing that research with your stakeholder journey. Same thing, right? Like awareness, consideration, decision. Like how do they go through the whole research process to make decisions? Like the same applies to media people. So if I'm trying to engage with a journalist, I need to get to know them really well. I need to know when they start working on a story, how do they research it? Do they go on Google? Do they talk to people? What type of things do they need for the stories? Do they need statistics? Do they would rather have an interview with an executive? Like what are the needs? Do they have very quick turnaround time in terms of in 24 hours they need to publish something, right? Like you need to know that. You need to basically, after that, when you have all those questions that people are asking and you know what journey they go through, it's very easy for you to start creating a content plan and creating the content and figuring out where to promote it and what channels. And then figuring out, can we actually do any type of lead nurturing? Because you can do that even with the media. And there's this whole concept of a newsroom that I speak about, where all that content that you're creating, you can easily organize it on a single space on your website, similar to how a lot of companies have a resources page or a downloads page. And that resources and downloads page is built for the buyer persona, but the newsroom is built for your media persona. So you see how everything really revolves around who are you trying to engage, and everything else you do based on the needs of that audience, right? The content, how they want to receive information. Do they like email? Maybe they hate it. Maybe they prefer Twitter, right? Like all that research is extremely important, because then you can design, as I said earlier, also journeys for the various personas. So really that's kind of like, and then at the end, of course, you measure the results. Did everything work? What do we need to improve? So inbound PR, in a sense, in the book goes into a lot of details that are more PR driven, but all of that is just simple business acumen and business thinking, right? It's an all-round business strategy, and you just put a PR flair to it based on your needs as a company.
It's very different from just send a press release to journalists
that doesn't work.
And complaining about why journalists. I was talking with the CEO of manufacturing companies last day, and he was saying to me that every time he sent, he was complaining about journalists. They don't understand me. They don't want to publish my press press release. And he was very upset, very angry about journalists. But no, if you want to have this kind of press release, if you want the press talk about you, you need to consider them like finally like a customer, like someone. Exactly. You need to bring them a value.
Exactly. It really is about what do they need. And that's why this whole media persona research is so important, and their journey is so important to be researched. And that's where people fail, because they either rely on assumptions or don't spend enough time on it. And again, they take their own consideration. They're like, me, and my products, my services, my business, others should be interested in it, whereas others probably are not. So that's why this research and what's in it for them is key here, because press releases are still relevant. They're still an important instruments that journalists use and PR people are used to. So it's not that it's extinguished. It just needs to be done in a better way that's a lot more targeted to the needs of the journalist and the needs of the journalist audience. Because if you think about a journalist's job, their job is to write a piece that's going to get read and consumed. So in a sense, you almost need to know the readership too, not just the journalist.
Yeah, it's very, very important. How does those new people like influencers? I'm not I'm not very at ease with that, because in the manufacturing world we don't have a lot of this kind of Instagrammer
yes.
But I think in certain way we have influencers. For example, I'm trying to be even if I don't want to say it. A kind of influencers. We try to bring some value to manufacturer. How can you integrate them? I see a lot of companies trying to sell them some product to test it. Is it the same thing? How can you integrate this in your strategy?
So in my personal opinion, and that's because I work with a lot of influencers, because before I joined HubSpot, influencers are a whole nother story in the sense that they require a very personalized approach. So I was successful with influencer relationship because I got to know the influencers that I was working with on a personal level. I was on the phone with them, I met them in person. I would talk to them, and what do you like, how do you create your content? How do you like to engage with brands? Like, what's important to you? And then after that initial relationship building, and they were clear also on my goals, right? Like you are building a relationship, so you need to be aligned there. Every campaign that I run was very personalized. So even though it was say one product, every influencer, they want a lot of freedom in the sense of how they create their own content and stories, and if that's Instagram posts or YouTube videos or whatever. So you need to work with them to find and create together, co-create almost a campaign. But again, the key there is that it is personalized. So you can't go with a mass approach for influencers. It has to be on an influencer per influencer basis.
So bring value, find or build the right relationship. It's all about building relationship, like we are doing in inbound marketing.
Yeah,
we want. Yes, we want our customers to know us about, before we even know them. We know us we know them to build a relationship with us, and you need to target one by one and to bring value. I think it's the key in this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Iliana, what could be your conclusion word? We are talking together for 20 minutes. If you want to bring a message to what would be your conclusion?
Sure. I think because we spoke about partner programs and we spoke about PR and everything, but it all goes back to definition of your stakeholder persona. Whatever your goals are as a business, you're trying to reach different types of audiences. So when you choose who those audiences are, whether partners or customers or media or influencers, spend a lot of time researching and getting to know them And then everything else you do should be around building journeys and experiences for these personas in a very personalized and targeted way. The content you're using for your customers is going to have to be different for the content you're using for media, or even for your partners. And granted, you may not always need to reinvent the wheel and create new things. You can repurpose it, but you do need to personalize it and use the right language with each persona. So that would be my key message. Make sure you know your stakeholder personas.
It's a great message. A lot of companies are underestimating the value when you do great research with your persona. Everything starts from this. Even if you're thinking about customers or journalists or partner, it's always start with great research on buyer persona, and it's most of the time it's underestimated. What I see around me, it's underestimated.
Yeah, that's what I see as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Eliana. Where can we buy your great book? If we want to learn more about Inbound PR, I read the book, and I think it's a great book because not because it's only you who are writing it, but because you bring a lot of way to do it. It's not a theoretical book. It's a very practical book, and you can use it as a playbook to develop Inbound PR in a company. So I want to congratulate you about this, because for people like me, we don't know how to do a press relation or public relation. I think it's a good start for us.
Well, thanks for the endorsement on the book. I'm very glad you enjoyed it. It is very practical, and that was the whole goal with it. It's a compact book. It's not a super long book, but it is very much a playbook, as you say. And again, thank you for the invitation, obviously, and having me here.
Thank you very much.
The book is available pretty much on every bookstore. I think there is also on a lot of French websites as well. Amazon, the French version of Amazon too, is available as a hard copy, as an audiobook, and as Kindle. And then every other shop, as in Barnes and Noble. So it's pretty much everywhere to be found. Look forward to more people reading it, sharing feedback. Amazon reviews are always helpful, so click short CTA over there. But yeah, all in all, I'm interested in just knowing how people are getting on and the types of results they're achieving with Inbound PR. I hope it is helpful.
I will put the link to the Amazon shop for the book, and I invite everybody to let a review if you love the book and want to bring feedback to Eliana.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Eliana.
Thank you. Take care and have a great day.
Goodbye. Just stop.